Okay, seeing a lot of confusion on ordering, and there's a lot of information out there that's not quite right, so I thought I'd do a quick video and show you how ordering actually happens at a Ford dealership. Start with, I was going to show you this is the old system called Concepts. This is the way we've ordered since the 80s, and I still order my fleet units today this way because I think it's easier on like a police interceptor to enter codes than to click and make sure you get them all. When I started in the 80s, this system was you flipped your 5 1/4 floppy disks, and then you'd transmit your data on a modem to Ford, and it'd say send data to combat, I believe. And then they put in Ford Star years later, where it was satellite. And like I said, we were still using this up till a few years ago, and you'd put in your model year, your body type, etc. One thing it did do that I always kind of liked was you could cheat and get help. I could F1 for help, and I could see what was coming a lot of times. And got in trouble for that a few years ago on the Mustang when they discontinued the V6. I posted that on a forum, and that didn't go over real well. Got a few nasty phone calls. But anyway, this is the old system. And this is where it all started and the way it works. So now I'm going to go to the new way. This is WebDo. This is the new, from my understanding, it just takes the information and converts it into the old systems because Ford's computer systems are so huge it was impossible to switch, so they stayed. But you go to your orders, they pop up your recommendations. Mine for the week haven't come up yet. Usually they come up Sunday night or Monday morning. But say you were had a customer come in, want to order one, you just click new order, pick your model year, you have to put an order number, priority code, which on a stock order has to be between 20 and 99 means do not build. But if you do a retail now, it forces you to 19 or lower, 10 to 19, and you have to put in a name. Body type, or a crew cab, do a Lariat with a power boost, 145, color, interior, and then you can do your options and so on and so forth. All pretty normal, like just a lot like the build and price on the Ford website. You do have some fleet-only options, and if it's not a fleet order, you can't have those. Then you click Preview, and you get your pricing. You can have invoice, A-plan, etc. show up here, and then you hit Submit, and it's ordered. I'm not going to order this one, but... And this is what you'll see a lot of salesmen talking about, because this is the way on most vehicle lines. And that's where when you hear people talking about retail, that means customers taking it. A retail order is sold, means supposed to be priority. They've started doing green window sticker surrounds instead of the blue on retail orders, so you can tell retail at a glance when they're shipping, and that's retail. To get these orders, that you get allocation. Each month you submit for your allocation. Used to be weekly, it's been monthly for years now. They'll say, we've got this many, your share of that is, say, 10 F-150s. You can say, I want 10, I want 4. You can say, I want 10, but I'd like to have 4 more if you can build them, or if you want 14. And if they can find extras or somebody turns them down, they give you those. And that's the way the allocation works. And like on this line, if you don't have an allocation, it won't get built. You have to earn them each month and to get them. And that's what gets kind of screwy sometimes, even on vehicles that aren't hard to get. Like if you didn't take a Transit, and because you never sell them, you can't just take an order for Transit and have it build right away. That said, like everything, there's always exceptions, and a lot of times if you do take a Transit order, the region's got extras laying around that they just built it anyway. But on F-150, you have to have them right now, an allocation, even for retail. And that's the way a lot of the lines work. But there are exceptions to that. They went to, I believe, Escape and Edge are the main two. Fusion was also. You go to those. Get rid of this. I don't want that order. And when you order these, it's a little different. Your wholesale's the same as before. Stop for the noon whistle here. But when you do wholesale on these, after you say I want 4, you have to go in and tell them what 4 you want. And they have controls. You may not be able to get the 4 you really want. They're going to tell you what your choices are. Like this is Fusion, which isn't in production, well, is about to end production, but isn't being ordered anymore. And so those are like your choices. You had to choose when you took the allocation between these packages. You could still switch colors and options, but if you said I want a body type P0H, you were stuck with a 1.5 SE front wheel. If someone came in and you thought you wanted to change that to a 2-liter, you were out of luck. You already committed to the 1.5 after you did your wholesale, and that's what you're getting. And the way those work is when your week would come to schedule, they would then show in the order bank, and here's an order. It would just pop in. Ford would put in what they think you should order with the equipment they think you should have. Often my opinion was the equipment that they wanted to get rid of, and I would usually change them, and that would schedule that week no matter what, pending, well, I should say no matter what. You couldn't stop it. You were getting a unit unless Ford had an issue that they pushed it a week or something happened at the plant or whatever. But that's the way stock orders would work now on the OTD lines. Now, if I want to order one, I can't. Well, I can't order a stock unit. If I click new order, put in my model year, you notice it automatically went to retail. I can't do a stock. There are some special A plans and driver's training units and things like that, but you cannot do a stock order on an OTD unit. And then it works just like the F-150s and the others on a retail. You put in your options, your body, and you put it in. The difference is on these you don't need an allocation. When you put in a retail order, it's built without allocation, and usually pretty quickly, at least on Escapes right now, they're coming right away, even though stock Escapes are taking a bit. And that was the point of the OTD system, was to make sure people got sold units right away, and they didn't linger in the order bank for 8 to 12 to 14 weeks like some of the other stuff does. And so far, I'm not a big fan of the being forced into what vehicle line early, weeks before I order it, but the retail side has been a big plus. It does work. This is the system I believe Bronco is going to go into. Let me show you why. I think it's going to be a little different. Bronco is not orderable yet, but Bronco Sport is. So we'll get out of Escape. And the reason I say that, when I do a new order for a Bronco Sport, it automatically goes to retail, just like the other. So I think it's going to be an OTD line. And I believe Bronco will be the same way. The only thing different is on these. Let's see what happens when you try putting a first edition in, even though they're sold out. I'm curious. No options. You notice that my name is grayed out. I can't put a name in there like you have to on the others. So when I hit preview, it then pops up this information. And so I have to put in info, just like I were doing a reservation. Email isn't available. And so what I think is going to happen is this is going to be a little more advanced than just putting a name on a retail. I think they're going to do like the reservation system. But I do believe it's going to be OTD, to where after the initial shock is over, they're going to allow retail orders to get built without allocation. So I don't think the ADMs and stuff are going to last. I think one on the lot is going to bring a premium, just because they are going to be hard to get on the big Bronco. But I don't believe you're going to be able to charge ridiculous pricing if you can get one, like I said, once the initial demand's over and the reservations are filled. I don't think it's going to be a huge wait. I just don't know how long that's going to be. Is it year 2? Is it year 3? Initial's going to be ugly, but long term I think this is going to be great. And then you hit submit and it's ordered. Strangely, I'm rather amazed. It does give me an alert that the paint slate availability on the Rapid Red, but it didn't give me a warning that first edition was sold out. I kind of expected that to warn me something there, but it didn't. So not sure what the tail there is. Might be something that they've not expected for on these yet. But anyway, I expect Bronco to be the same way. And other thing I was going to show you is reservations. When a dealer gets a reservation, you click that, go to your login, and this is where your reservations go when you make them. Of course, we have no orders eligible to build because I don't have any Bronco Sport reservations, but Broncos, we got lots of those sitting there, and eventually we'll process offline, and that's how it'll get turned into an order, which right now is not available. But that's the way the Bronco reservations are going to work. I still think there's a lot of question marks on a lot of this because it is new, and there's going to be things that don't work right and changes made, and it's new. But this kind of gives you an idea of, like I said, when people tell you retail on the other, a lot of them are people that have seen enough to know what's going on, but not enough to know that things are going to be different on this one compared to the people that are actually dealing with the system. So your reservation is going to make it a retail automatically. And I don't believe priority code is going to matter on these, because I believe that reservation timestamp is going to be played into priority. And the priority codes are only valid in that dealer. Like if I order you wanted a 19 and have and another dealer orders you wanted a 10, it's not going to matter if 19 is the only one I put in. That'll still be the first order they schedule for me. However, if I have 5 orders and I put one at 10 and the other 4 at 12, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, then 10 is going to be the one that they try and build first. And on the old system, that was really important. On the OTD lines, I haven't really had a lot of problems with them not building things. It's everything sold just pretty much gets built. But OTD's only been on lines that haven't had a lot of issues and availability. I mean, escapes have not been a problem, and edges either. Right now, everything's a problem, but they're still getting the sold orders even with the stock orders being behind. And that's where I think, like I said, you're going to hear people saying things that don't quite match up with what's going on, and the reason is they're just different in their ways of doing this stuff. And so that's just kind of, like I said, just trying to show you how things work and what happens here, and trying to eliminate some of the question marks. There's still going to be a lot of them, and until December when we actually start doing this, I still believe a lot of the stuff could change. I don't know that any of this is set in stone yet, and we'll go from there, but hopefully this answers some questions.